The massive alien ship appeared on the edge of human space like a dark mountain floating among the stars. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizons, watching the readings flow across his screens. The alien craft was 3 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. Its hull covered in what looked like natural armor plating. "Sir, they're responding to our communication attempts," reported Lieutenant Amy Carter from the communication station. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and nervousness that everyone on the bridge shared. Jake nodded slowly. After decades of sending messages into space with no response, humanity was finally meeting someone else. The moment felt both thrilling and terrifying. "Put it through the speakers," Jake ordered. A deep, rumbling voice filled the bridge, speaking in heavily accented but understandable English. "Human vessel, this is War Chief Thakmor of the Zephyrian Empire. We have received your primitive signals and have come to investigate your species." Captain Lisa White, who led the diplomatic team, stepped forward. "This is Captain White of the human vessel New Horizons. We welcome you and hope for peaceful contact between our peoples." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. "We will arrange a meeting. Prepare a small delegation. You will come aboard our vessel." The communication ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in silence. "Well, that was friendly," muttered Chief Engineer Ben Rodriguez from his station. Dr. Helen Brooks, the team's biologist, was already pulling up everything they knew about the signals they had detected from the alien ship. "The energy readings are incredible. Their technology is far ahead of ours." Jake studied the massive vessel on the main screen. Its design was unlike anything in human experience. Sharp angles and curved surfaces that reminded him of some kind of predator. Warning lights flashed along its hull in patterns that seemed almost aggressive. "Captain White, select your team. Keep it small and non-threatening," Jake said. "We don't know what we're dealing with," Lisa nodded. "I'll take Dr. Brooks for scientific exchange, Lieutenant Carter for communications, and Security Chief Tony Adams for protection." "Are you sure about Adams?" Jake asked. The security chief was a big man, former military, and might seem intimidating. "If they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it already," Lisa replied. "Besides, Tony knows how to stay calm under pressure." An hour later, a small shuttle launched from the New Horizons toward the alien ship. As they approached, the true size of the vessel became clear. It stretched for miles, its surface covered in weapons and armor that gleamed under the light of the nearby star. "Look at those gun ports," Tony Adams said quietly. "This thing could destroy a whole fleet." "Let's hope they're friendly," Amy Carter replied, though her hand shook slightly as she worked the communications panel. The shuttle was pulled into a massive docking bay by some kind of tractor beam. As they landed, they could see other smaller ships, all of them still larger than anything humanity had built. The bay itself was enormous, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness high above. The airlock cycled, and they stepped out onto the alien ship. The gravity felt normal, maybe a little light. The air was breathable but had a strange metallic taste. Everything around them was built on a massive scale, as if designed for giants. Then they saw their hosts. The Zephyrians were impressive creatures standing nearly 8 feet tall. Their skin looked like natural armor, covered in overlapping plates that gleamed like polished metal. Sharp claws extended from their hands, and their faces had a predatory look with large, intelligent eyes. They moved with the fluid grace of natural hunters. War Chief Thakmor approached the human delegation. His armor was more elaborate than the others, marked with symbols that probably indicated rank. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Welcome aboard the Storm's Edge," he said. "You are smaller than we expected." Lisa stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you for receiving us. We are honored to meet representatives of your empire." Thakmor studied them with obvious curiosity. "Your species is young. We have been traveling between stars for thousands of your years. We have encountered many worlds and many peoples. Most require our protection." "Protection from what?" Dr. Brooks asked. "From the dangers of space. From hostile species. From the harsh conditions of worlds that are not suited for life." Thakmor's claws clicked against his armor as he gestured. "The galaxy is full of threats. Most species that venture into space are not equipped to handle them." Tony Adams looked around at the massive weapons and armor surrounding them. These aliens were clearly built for war. Their whole society seemed designed around strength and conflict. "What makes you so well suited for these dangers?" Amy Carter asked. Thakmor's expression showed something like pride. "We evolved on Typhon Prime, a world of eternal storms and high gravity. We are born warriors, adapted for survival in conditions that would kill most life forms. Our strength and endurance are unmatched in the galaxy. The Zephyrian leader paused, studying the humans more closely. Tell us about your world. What challenges shaped your species? Lisa exchanged glances with her team. How could they explain Earth to beings who saw themselves as the ultimate survivors? Our world is diverse, she began carefully. We have many different environments and weather patterns. Our species learned to adapt to changing conditions. Thakmor nodded as if this confirmed what he expected. A garden world then, peaceful, stable. No wonder your people seem so delicate, Dr. Brooks frowned. I wouldn't call Earth peaceful. We have storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, extreme temperatures. All worlds have some weather, Thakmor interrupted, but clearly nothing that would create true warriors. Do not worry. The Zephyrian Empire protects weaker species. That is our purpose. The humans looked at each other in confusion. Weaker species? The Zephyrians seemed to have already decided that humanity needed their protection. Perhaps we could exchange more detailed information about our worlds and cultures, Lisa suggested diplomatically. Of course, Thakmor agreed. We will arrange proper quarters for you. Tomorrow we will show you what true strength looks like. You will understand why the galaxy depends on the Zephyrian Empire for protection. As they were led to their quarters, Tony Adams whispered to Lisa, I think they're underestimating us. Maybe, Lisa replied quietly. Or maybe we're about to learn something about ourselves we never knew. The first day of contact between humanity and the galaxy's self-proclaimed strongest species had begun. Neither side yet understood how much they were about to surprise each other. The next morning, the human delegation was escorted to a large meeting room aboard the Storm's Edge. The space was impressive, with tall ceilings and walls covered in what looked like battle honors and weapon displays. Everything was built to accommodate the 8-foot-tall Zephyrians, making the humans feel very small. War Chief Thakmor entered with several other Zephyrians, including what appeared to be scientists and military officers. Their armor clanked as they moved, and their claws clicked against the metal furniture as they took their seats. Today we begin proper cultural exchange, Thakmor announced. You will tell us about your people, and we will help you understand your place in the galaxy. Dr. Helen Brooks opened her tablet and began sharing information about Earth. Our planet orbits a yellow star at a distance that allows liquid water to exist on the surface. The world has diverse climates and ecosystems. One of the Zephyrian scientists, introduced as Research Chief Veltar, leaned forward with interest. Show us your world's conditions. Helen displayed images and data about Earth. Average gravity is about 10 meters per second squared. Atmospheric pressure at sea level is approximately 100 kilopascals. Oxygen makes up about 21% of our atmosphere. The Zephyrians exchanged glances. These were very standard conditions for most inhabited worlds. Your weather systems? Veltar asked. Well, we have various patterns, Helen continued. Hurricanes can have winds over 200 kilometers per hour. Tornadoes sometimes reach speeds of over 400 kilometers per hour. Lightning strikes the surface millions of times each day. The Zephyrians looked puzzled. But surely your people take shelter during these weather events. Sometimes, Helen said. But people often continue working during storms. Some even enjoy watching them. Amy Carter spoke up. My brother actually chases tornadoes as a hobby. He drives right up to them to take pictures. The silence in the room was uncomfortable. Finally, Thakmor spoke. You must be speaking metaphorically. No intelligent being would voluntarily approach such phenomena. It's quite popular, actually, Tony Adams added casually. Storm chasing, extreme weather photography, that kind of thing. While the Zephyrians tried to process this information, a minor accident occurred. A serving device carrying refreshments malfunctioned and began to tip over. Without thinking, Tony quickly reached out and caught the heavy metal container before it could crash to the floor. The Zephyrians stared. The container required mechanical assistance for them to lift safely, yet the human had caught it one-handed without apparent effort. How did you do that? Veltar asked, his voice filled with confusion. Tony looked at the container in his hands. Do what, catch this? It's not that heavy. The gravity enhancement field around that device increases its effective weight by a factor of 3, Veltar explained slowly. Oh, Tony said, setting it down gently. I didn't notice. The Zephyrians began whispering among themselves in their own language. Their voices sounded agitated, trying to move past the awkward moment. Lisa White suggested they share information about their respective biologies and cultures. Dr. Brooks began explaining human physiology. Our species evolved as persistence hunters, she said. We can run long distances, regulate our body temperature through sweating, and adapt to a wide range of environmental conditions. What distances do you consider long? Asked a Zephyrian military officer. Well, some humans regularly run marathons, which are about 42 kilometers. Ultramarathons can be over 100 kilometers. The longest recorded run was over 5,000 kilometers. The Zephyrians looked at each other in disbelief. Their own powerful physiques were built for short bursts of intense activity, not endurance. Surely these are your finest warriors, Thakmor said. Actually, no, Helen replied. These are just regular people who enjoy running. Many do it after work or on weekends for fun. The concept of extreme physical activity as recreation seemed to trouble the aliens greatly. Amy Carter decided to share some cultural information. Humans enjoy many challenging activities in their free time. Rock climbing, where we scale vertical cliffs. Deep sea diving, where we descend hundreds of meters underwater. Skydiving, where we jump from aircraft thousands of meters in the air. These are military training exercises, Veltar stated firmly. No, they're sports, Amy corrected. People pay money to do these things for enjoyment. The room fell silent again. Finally, one of the younger Zephyrians asked, What about your world's predators? Surely you have learned to avoid the dangerous creatures? Helen brightened. Oh, we have fascinating predators. Great white sharks can grow over 6 meters long and have bite forces of over 18,000 newtons. Saltwater crocodiles can death roll prey items weighing hundreds of kilograms. Polar bears are apex predators that can run 50 kilometers per hour, despite weighing up to 700 kilograms. And your people have eliminated these threats? Thakmor asked hopefully. Eliminated them? Oh no, we protect them. They're endangered species. We have special programs to help their populations recover. The Zephyrian war chief's claws extended involuntarily. You protect predators that could kill your people? Well, yes. They're important for ecosystem balance, Helen explained. Some people even swim with sharks or study polar bears up close. For scientific research? Veltar asked weakly. Sometimes, but also for tourism. People pay money to see dangerous animals in their natural habitats. Tony Adams pulled out his phone and showed them pictures from his last vacation. This is me diving with bull sharks last year. And here's my wife swimming with jellyfish that have mild venom. The Zephyrians studied the images in horror. One of them actually backed away from the device. Your mate voluntarily entered water containing venomous creatures? Thakmor asked in a strangled voice. The jellyfish are actually pretty harmless to humans, Tony said. The stings just tingle a bit. Dr. Brooks continued sharing Earth's biodiversity. We also have microscopic life that lives in extreme conditions. Some bacteria thrive in boiling water, others in acid that would dissolve metal. Many of these organisms live inside human bodies and actually help us survive. This statement caused visible distress among the Zephyrians. The idea that humans coexisted with extremophile organisms that use their bodies as habitat seemed to violate everything they understood about biological safety. Perhaps, Thakmor said slowly, we should end today's session here. We need time to process this information. As the humans were escorted back to their quarters, they could hear intense discussions in the Zephyrian language behind them. The tone sounded urgent, almost panicked. I think we confused them, Amy said quietly. They seem to think we're either lying or completely insane, Helen replied. Maybe both, Tony added. Did you see their faces when I mentioned that some people keep venomous snakes as pets? Back in their quarters, the humans reviewed the day's exchanges. It was becoming clear that the Zephyrians, despite their impressive physical capabilities and advanced technology, had very different ideas about what constituted normal behavior. They keep talking about protection and safety, Lisa observed. I think their whole society is built around avoiding danger, not embracing it. Which explains why they can't understand humans, Helen said. We've spent our entire evolutionary history not just surviving danger, but seeking it out. Outside their quarters, they could hear the heavy footsteps of Zephyrian guards and the sound of intense conversations. Something about the human revelations had clearly disturbed their hosts far more than anyone had expected. The cultural exchange was revealing differences that went far deeper than anyone had imagined. War Chief Thakmor stood in the command center of the storm's edge, surrounded by his senior staff. The holographic displays showed detailed analysis of the previous day's cultural exchange with the humans. The data made no sense. "Sir, their claims are impossible," reported Intelligence Chief Kavrek. "No species voluntarily exposes itself to the dangers they describe. They must be hiding their true nature." Research Chief Veltar nodded in agreement. "Their physical capabilities also don't match their appearance." The human Tony Adams lifted a gravity-enhanced object that should have required powered assistance. Either they're augmented warriors or they're lying about their world's conditions. Thakmor's claws clicked against his armor as he considered the situation. "There's one way to determine the truth. We invite them to visit Typhon Prime. No species can hide their weakness when exposed to our homeworld's conditions." The decision was made quickly. Within hours, the human delegation received an invitation to visit the Zephyrian homeworld as honored guests. The offer was presented as a great privilege, a chance to see the world that had shaped the galaxy's strongest species. Captain Lisa White accepted graciously, unaware that this was intended as a test. The journey to Typhon Prime took 3 days aboard the Storm's Edge. During the trip, the humans continued their cultural exchanges, each conversation deepening the Zephyrians' confusion and suspicion. "On your world, what do your people do for entertainment during dangerous weather?" asked cultural analyst Zethron. "Well, in hurricanes, some people have hurricane parties," Amy Carter replied. "They gather with friends, cook food, and wait for the storm to pass. Kids often play outside in the early stages when it's just heavy rain and wind." The Zephyrian analyst's breathing apparatus made distressed sounds. "Children are exposed to storm conditions." "Nothing too dangerous," Tony Adams clarified. "Just enough rain and wind to have fun. Children love playing in puddles and feeling strong wind." Dr. Helen Brooks added, "Many humans find storms relaxing. The sound of thunder and rain helps people sleep." This statement caused several Zephyrians to leave the room abruptly. When they finally arrived at Typhon Prime, the humans got their first look at the Zephyrian homeworld through the ship's viewports. The planet was a dark sphere wrapped in constant storm systems. Lightning flickered continuously across the surface, and massive atmospheric disturbances created swirling patterns that covered entire continents. "Beautiful," Helen murmured, watching the light show. Pilot Dan Cooper was studying the navigation data. "Those storm patterns are incredible. The atmospheric dynamics must be fascinating." The Zephyrians monitoring the human reactions expected to see fear, but instead found curiosity and appreciation. "Prepare for atmospheric entry," announced the ship's communication system. "All non-essential personnel report to secure stations." The Storm's Edge descended through Typhon Prime's violent atmosphere. The ship shook and rolled as it encountered wind shears and pressure variations that would destroy most vessels. Lightning struck the hull repeatedly, while massive downdrafts tried to slam the ship into the surface. In the guest quarters, the humans rode out the turbulence with casual conversation. "This reminds me of flying through a thunderstorm over the Rockies," Dan said. "Pretty rough, but nothing too unusual." "The lightning frequency is amazing," Helen observed, watching the electrical display through the viewport. "Our atmospheric researchers would love to study this." The Zephyrians watching the humans through security monitors couldn't believe what they were seeing. The violent atmospheric entry that sent their own people to emergency stations was being treated like a mild inconvenience. They landed at the capital city of Typhon Prime, a massive fortress city built into the side of a mountain. The entire structure was designed to withstand the planet's perpetual storms, with heavy armor plating and energy shields protecting every surface. As the humans prepared to disembark, they were given breathing apparatus and gravity assistance devices. The atmosphere was technically breathable, but contained particles that most species found irritating. The gravity was nearly twice Earth standard. "You may find the conditions challenging, War Chief," Thakmor warned as they prepared to leave the ship. The humans stepped out onto the surface of Typhon Prime. The wind immediately hit them with the force of a strong hurricane. Carrying stinging particles and electrical discharge, the gravity pulled at their bodies with crushing weight. Tony Adams took a deep breath and looked around. "Nice breeze," he commented. Amy Carter removed her breathing apparatus and took an experimental breath. "The air's a bit thick, but not bad." Dr. Brooks was already examining the local plant life, which consisted of hardy organisms that looked more like metal sculptures than vegetation. Fascinating adaptations, she said, pulling out her scanner. The Zephyrians watched in growing amazement as the humans adapted to conditions that challenged even their own hardy physiology. During the tour of the capital city, the humans showed no signs of distress. They walked normally in the high gravity, breathed the harsh atmosphere without difficulty, and seemed completely unbothered by the constant storms raging overhead. "Your people have built an impressive city," Lisa White commented as they walked through the main plaza. "The architecture is beautiful." Beautiful was not a word most visitors used to describe the fortress-like structures designed purely for survival. The real test came during their visit to a cultural center, where they were invited to share a traditional Zephyrian meal. The food was prepared by Chef Maria Santos, who had been brought along as part of the cultural exchange. "I've prepared some of your local ingredients according to our customs," Maria explained as she served the meal. "I hope you don't mind that I experimented a bit with the spices." The Zephyrians stared in horror as the humans began eating what their species considered emergency rations, food so harsh that it was only consumed during survival situations. "This is delicious," Helen said enthusiastically. "The mineral content gives it a really interesting flavor profile." "It's like a spicy trail mix," Tony added. "We have similar foods on Earth for hiking and camping." Research Chief Veltar could barely speak. "You find our survival rations pleasant?" "Very much so," Maria replied. "I'd love to get the recipe. This would be popular at outdoor festivals back home." The final revelation came when alarms began sounding throughout the city. Seismic sensors had detected massive underground activity. Typhon Prime was experiencing one of its periodic tectonic events, a shifting of the planet's crust that threatened the capital city. Immediately, massive energy shields activated overhead, and the city's population moved to reinforced shelter areas. Emergency protocols locked down all non-essential activities, but the humans reacted differently. Construction foreman Carlos Martinez, who had been studying Zephyrian architecture, quickly assessed the situation. "Looks like earthquake activity. We should help with evacuation procedures." Before the Zephyrians could stop them, the humans had left the safety of the cultural center and were moving through the city, helping to guide civilians to shelter areas and assisting with emergency preparations. Security Chief Tony Adams coordinated with local emergency responders, while Dr. Brooks helped treat minor injuries among panicked civilians. Pilot Dan Cooper used his experience with severe weather to help organize evacuation routes. The Zephyrians watched through their monitoring systems as the humans worked calmly and efficiently, in conditions that had triggered every emergency protocol their civilization possessed, sir, reported Intelligence Chief Kavrek in a shaken voice. "The humans are treating a Class 7 emergency. Event is routine disaster response." War Chief Tuckmore stared at the displays showing humans working in the dangerous conditions outside the safety barriers. What kind of world could produce beings who consider this normal? For the first time since meeting the humans, the Zephyrians began to suspect that perhaps they had underestimated not just humanity's capabilities, but the true nature of their homeworld. The test intended to reveal human weakness was instead revealing something far more disturbing to the galaxy's self-proclaimed strongest species. The emergency on Typhon Prime ended after 6 hours, but the impact on the Zephyrian leadership lasted much longer. In the aftermath of the seismic event, they had watched the humans work outside their safety barriers as if natural disasters were routine occurrences. War Chief Thakmore called an emergency session of the High Council. The massive chamber filled with the Empire's most senior leaders, their armor gleaming under the harsh lights. All of them had reviewed the reports about human behavior during the crisis. "Bring the humans before us," Thakmore commanded. "We must have answers." Commander Jake Morrison and Captain Lisa White were escorted into the council chamber along with their delegation. The space was intimidating, designed to show the power and authority of the Zephyrian Empire. Weapons and battle honors covered the walls, and the assembled leaders looked like an army of metal-clad giants. "Humans," Thakmore began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We have observed your behavior on our homeworld. Your actions during our emergency protocols were unexpected. We were happy to help," Lisa replied diplomatically. "Disaster response is something humans are familiar with." Intelligence Chief Kavrek leaned forward. "You claim familiarity with disasters. Yet you also claim to come from a peaceful garden world. These statements contradict each other. Dr. Alex Turner, the team's anthropologist, stepped forward. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding about Earth's conditions. Would you like to see actual data from our home world? Yes, several council members said at once. Alex activated a holographic display and began showing real information about Earth. Not the simplified version they had shared before, but the complete picture. Earth's surface is 71% water, most of it in constant motion. Our planet experiences approximately 16 million thunderstorms per year. We have roughly 1,500 active volcanoes, with about 50 erupting at any given time. The council chamber grew quiet as the data appeared before them. Our world has experienced 5 major extinction events in its history. Each one eliminated most life forms on the planet. The last one occurred 65 million years ago, when an asteroid impact created global climate change that lasted for decades. Research Chief Veltar's breathing apparatus made alarmed sounds. Your species survived planetary extinction events? Well, our ancestors did, Alex explained. Humanity evolved after the last major extinction. But our planet has continued to test us with ice ages, massive volcanic eruptions, plague outbreaks, and climate shifts. Communications Officer Nina Parker added, just in recorded human history, we've survived the eruption of supervolcanoes, the Little Ice Age, multiple pandemic diseases, and countless natural disasters. The council members exchanged glances of disbelief. Show them the current data, suggested Dr. Grace Miller. The team's archaeologist Alex brought up real-time information from Earth. This week, there are currently 3 major hurricanes in our Atlantic Ocean, 2 typhoons in the Pacific, flooding in 7 countries, drought in 12 others, and active wildfires on 4 continents. And your people? Thuckmore asked quietly. Going about their normal lives, Nina replied. Here's a live feed from Miami, where Hurricane Category 3 is approaching. The display showed humans boarding up windows, securing outdoor furniture and making preparations, but not evacuating or panicking. Children played in the strengthening wind while adults calmly prepared for the storm. Here's footage from our earthquake monitoring station in California, Alex continued. This was recorded during a magnitude 6.2 earthquake last month. The video showed scientists continuing their work while the ground shook violently around them. One researcher even made a joke about spilling coffee during the tremor. The Zephyrian Council sat in stunned silence. Dr. Grace Miller began sharing human history. Our species has survived the Toba supervolcanic eruption 74,000 years ago, which created a volcanic winter that lasted for years. We've survived ice ages that covered most of our northern continents in glaciers kilometers thick. During our recorded history, she continued, we've survived the Bronze Age collapse, the fall of multiple civilizations, the Black Death that killed 1/3 of Europe's population, and 2 global wars that involved most of our planet's nations. Peter Clark, the communications specialist, received an incoming transmission. Sorry to interrupt, but we're getting an emergency update from Earth. The message played in the council chamber. It was from Earth's Weather Service, announcing that Hurricane Patricia was intensifying to Category 5 status and would make landfall near several major cities. Current wind speeds are approaching 300 kilometers per hour. The announcement continued. Residents in affected areas should complete preparations and shelter in place. The Zephyrians expected to hear about massive evacuations and emergency responses. Instead, the next part of the message discussed traffic patterns, school closings, and suggested supplies for power outages. They're treating a Category 5 hurricane like an inconvenience, whispered one council member. Show them the surfing footage, suggested Tony. Adams. Peter found a live stream from Earth's coast where extreme surfers were preparing to ride the massive waves generated by the approaching hurricane. People voluntarily enter the ocean during these conditions? Veltar asked in a strangled voice. Big wave surfing is a popular sport, Tony explained. Hurricanes create some of the best waves. Dr. Helen Brooks pulled up biological data about Earth. Our planet hosts approximately 8,700,000 different species. Many of them are what other worlds would classify as apex predators or dangerous organisms. She showed images of Earth's wildlife: great white sharks, saltwater crocodiles, polar bears, venomous snakes, deadly spiders, and microscopic organisms that could kill within hours. Humans coexist with all of these, she explained. We study them, protect them, and in many cases keep them as companions. The small predators you keep in your homes? Asked a council member. Cats and dogs, yes. But some people keep more exotic pets. Snakes, lizards, tarantulas, even small crocodiles. The revelation that humans voluntarily shared living space with predators seemed to break something in the Zephyrian understanding of intelligent behavior. War Chief. Thakmor stood slowly.
Your world, Earth?
It's not a garden world at all. No, Alex admitted. By galactic standards, Earth is classified as a Class 12 deathworld, one of the most hostile environments known to support complex life. The term deathworld sent a wave of shock through the council chamber. Deathworlds were legendary places where only the most extreme life forms could survive. No civilized species had ever evolved on such worlds. Impossible, Veltar stated. No intelligent species could develop civilization under such conditions. And yet here we are, Lisa said simply. Dr. Grace Miller continued the revelation. Humans didn't just survive on Earth, we thrived. We developed art, music, literature, and philosophy while dealing with constant environmental challenges. Some of our greatest achievements came during our most difficult periods. We wrote poetry during plagues, added Alex. We created art during wars. We explored the ocean during storms and climbed mountains during blizzards. Not because we had to, Nina clarified. Because we wanted to. The council chamber fell into absolute silence. The implications of what they were learning was reshaping everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about strength, survival, and what it meant to be a warrior species. Finally, Supreme War Chief Thakmor spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We came to offer you protection from the dangers of the galaxy, but you come from a world that makes our homeworld look like a peaceful garden. You're not a weak species that needs our protection, Intelligence Chief Kavrek said slowly. You're survivors of conditions that would destroy our civilization. The revelation was complete. The galaxy's self-proclaimed strongest species had encountered something they had never imagined. A species that was stronger than them, not through physical power or advanced technology, but through an almost supernatural ability to adapt, survive, and even thrive in the face of impossible challenges. The humans had spent their entire evolutionary history not just surviving in hell, but making hell into home. 3 months after the revelation in the High Council chamber, the Zephyrian Empire found itself in an unprecedented situation. For the first time in their recorded history, they were asking another species for help. Admiral Susan Foster stood on the bridge of the newly arrived human fleet command ship Liberty, watching as Zephyrian vessels took defensive positions around them. The irony wasn't lost on her. 6 months ago, the aliens had come to offer humanity protection. Now they were requesting an alliance where humans would help train their forces. Admiral Foster, came the familiar voice of War Chief Thakmor over the communication system. Welcome back to Typhon Prime. The High Council is eager to begin our discussions. In the month since first contact, everything had changed. The Zephyrians had spent weeks analyzing the data about Earth and humanity. Their scientists had run countless simulations, trying to understand how a species could evolve under such extreme conditions and not just survive, but create art, philosophy, and advanced civilization. The answer had shaken their entire worldview. Their adaptability is unprecedented, Research Chief Veltar had reported to the Council. While we evolved to be strong in specific conditions, humans evolved to be strong in any conditions. They are the ultimate generalists now. As Admiral Foster and General Kevin Walsh met with the Zephyrian leadership, the tables had completely turned from their first meeting. We have a proposal, Thakmor began. The galaxy contains regions that even our forces cannot safely explore. Worlds with extreme conditions, dangerous phenomena, and hostile environments that have defeated our best teams. He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's unexplored regions. Red zones marked areas that were considered too dangerous for standard exploration. We believe, Thakmor continued, that humans might be able to operate in these regions where we cannot. General Walsh studied the display. What kind of conditions are we talking about? Intelligence Chief Kavrek answered. Worlds with extreme gravity variations, planets with corrosive atmospheres, systems with dangerous radiation levels, regions where spatial anomalies make navigation impossible. Sounds like Tuesday on Earth, muttered engineer Mike Phillips, earning a sharp look from Admiral Foster. We propose a joint exploration program, Thakmor explained. Zephyrian technology and military strength, combined with human adaptability and survival skills. Together we could explore regions that neither of our species could handle alone. Dr. Carol Anderson, the fleet's chief scientist, leaned forward with interest. What would we find in these regions? Unknown worlds, new species, possibly ancient technologies left by civilizations that died out eons ago, Veltar replied. Some of these regions may contain resources or knowledge that could benefit the entire galaxy. The negotiations took days, but gradually, the framework of an alliance emerged. It was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of the traditional protector-protected relationship that the Zephyrians usually established, this was a true partnership between equals. Human teams will handle extreme environment operations, Admiral Foster summarized. Zephyrian forces will provide military support and advanced technology. Joint crews on specially designed vessels. Correct, Thakmor agreed. We have much to learn from each other. The cultural exchange program expanded rapidly. Zephyrian scientists were amazed to learn about human endurance sports, extreme weather research, and disaster response techniques. Humans were fascinated by Zephyrian technology, military tactics, and their sophisticated understanding of galactic politics. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the Zephyrians viewed strength itself. We always believed that strength meant being unbreakable, War Chief Thakmor explained to Captain Lisa White during one of their planning sessions. But humans have shown us that true strength is the ability to bend without breaking, to adapt instead of resist. Both approaches have their place, Lisa replied diplomatically. Your people's strength and endurance are impressive, but combined with human adaptability, we can accomplish things neither of us could do alone. The first joint mission launched 6 weeks later. The target was a system called Maelstrom, where gravitational anomalies had destroyed every probe sent to investigate it. The region was believed to contain a world with valuable rare elements, but the dangerous space around it had made exploration impossible. The joint crew consisted of equal numbers of humans and Zephyrians. Captain Dan Cooper piloted the specially modified exploration vessel Harmony, while Zephyrian navigator Kelvis handled the advanced sensor systems. Gravitational fluctuations increasing, reported science officer Dr. Helen Brooks. We're entering the anomaly field. Structural stress within acceptable parameters, added Zephyrian engineer Morrek. Human-designed flexible hull plating is adapting to the pressure changes. The mission was a complete success. The human crew's ability to function under constantly changing conditions, combined with Zephyrian technology and strength, allowed them to navigate the dangerous region and establish a research station on the planet below. Word of the successful mission spread throughout the galaxy quickly. Other species began requesting assistance from the Human-Zephyrian Alliance for their own impossible exploration projects. It seems we've started something, Admiral Foster commented to War Chief Thakmor as they reviewed requests from 12 different civilizations. Indeed, Thakmor replied, though I suspect this is only the beginning. The Alliance grew stronger with each mission. Humans learned to appreciate Zephyrian honor, discipline, and technological sophistication. Zephyrians came to understand that human casualness about danger wasn't recklessness, but a different kind of courage. The most touching moment came when the first children from both species met at the UE Joint Research Station orbiting Typhon Prime. Young humans played games that amazed Zephyrian adults, while Zephyrian children learned that not all challenges had to be met with overwhelming force. Look at them, said Dr. Alex Turner, watching a group of human and Zephyrian children working together on a science project. They're not seeing differences. They're seeing partners. War Chief Thakmor nodded. Perhaps this is how the galaxy becomes stronger. Not through one species protecting all others, but through each species contributing their unique strengths. Speaking of which, Admiral Foster said, we've received a message from the Galactic Council. They want to meet with our alliance. The message was an invitation to address the full Galactic Council, representing over 200 different species. The Human-Zephyrian Alliance had accomplished what many thought impossible: successful exploration of the galaxy's most dangerous regions. As their ships prepared to depart for the council meeting, both species reflected on how much had changed since that first awkward encounter in space. When we first met humans, Thakmor said to his gathered officers, we thought we were meeting another weak species that needed our protection. Instead, we discovered partners who make us stronger than we ever imagined possible. On the human ships, Admiral Foster addressed her crews with similar thoughts. 6 months ago, we were alone in the galaxy. Today, we're part of something bigger. We've shown that humanity's greatest strength isn't what we can survive alone, but what we can accomplish together. The joint fleet set course for the Galactic Council chambers, carrying with them a new model for how different species could work together. Behind them, the dangerous regions of the galaxy that had been unexplored for millennia were gradually revealing their secrets to the combined efforts of human adaptability and Zephyrian strength, the galaxy's strongest species had encountered humanity and discovered that true strength came not from individual power, but from the bonds forged between those brave enough to face the impossible together. In the end, the universe's greatest Deathworld species had taught the galaxy's mightiest warriors their most important lesson: that survival isn't about being strong enough to face challenges alone, but about being wise enough to know when to face them together.